Good evening, Jeopardy fans, and welcome back to Hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel, presented by the JeopardyFan.com. As always, I am Andy Saunders, and I will be moderating tonight's discussion. Let's get right into introducing our panel. First up tonight on the panel, we've got Kelly Lassiter. Congratulations on your win last week, and thanks for joining me on the Hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel.
Thank you for having me.
And our second panelist this evening, also from the land of Lincoln, Illinois, Jill Staunton. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, if you've got any questions for our panel, we've got our comments. We've got a YouTube chat. You're welcome to use that if you have any questions or comments. There's also the Hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel on Twitter, and I check both of those throughout the show. And if there's something I like or a question I like, I will certainly ask it of the panel. So, I couldn't help but notice, Jill, that you're wearing on your glasses. You've got the same. Is that a flower?
Yes, it's a flower.
So is that it just happened to be that you're wearing it just like you wore on the show, or is that a permanent part of your glasses?
Well, it's not permanent. I have it on with these little kind of like hair rubber bands, but I do have it every day, and I've done it for 20 years now. Oh wow, that's quite impressive. So clearly that was why you wore it on the show. Yes.
Yeah. Now, what was your reaction to the? Because I almost want to say social media.
That Twitter hates me.
Social media.
They're very angry.
They had mixed reactions for sure towards the towards the flower. How did you feel about that?
I was just surprised. I wasn't expecting that was going to be a thing, so it kind of took me off guard. I thought it was pretty funny. Some of the comments were pretty funny and clever. There was like maybe one or two that seemed like actually just mean. But I hadn't gone on like the Jeopardy Twitter that much before, so I guess I didn't expect or know like how they usually comment. But I just took it as people being snarky, and I also enjoy being snarky, so I was just surprised the most.
Well, I know that, I mean, I personally thought that, there were a few people on Jeopardy Twitter who went a little bit too far, but pardon me, Kelly?
When you were talking just now, I just heard buzzing noises. Am I cutting out, or are you?
It might. Can you hear me pretty well, Jill?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so it might be you. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll do our best. I know I've knocked my own video down bandwidth a little bit just so that it kind of goes easier on you guys. But so yeah, as I was saying, I thought a couple people on Jeopardy Twitter, went a little bit too far, or like if that, why, like sort of almost like, why do you care so much sort of deal. But
yeah, I didn't really understand some people like how angry they seemed to get, but I don't know. I kind of enjoyed being like a slight meme. I got gift like photoshopping things that were pretty funny, but it was kind of strange.
Yeah, certainly something that I would probably venture neither of you thought you would have signed up for something like that.
Well, I kind of avoided Twitter like the plague right after the game. I read a couple of discussion boards, but I just avoided Twitter like the plague. I thought nothing good's going to come of that. But yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know that there's still I would say Twitter is kind of still probably the overall kind of the generally it's the spot where the worst of the internet has kind of, or at least the worst of the Jeopardy watching internet has kind of migrated to almost. I know that people still feel like they can act creepily towards people, and it's no fun for anyone. And
yeah, I never would have imagined there was such a universe of people being really mad about Jeopardy.
You know, people have strong, Jeopardy elicits strong feelings in a lot of people. It's something I've yet to figure out. I mean, I have strong feelings, but not in an anger sort of way. Okay, let's kind of move the discussion a little bit into something different. In our pre-show, you mentioned this a little bit, and I think it might be a good way of illustrating just how good the sound techs are a little bit. But it seemed like there wasn't much reaction in your game when they had the Shaka when the walls fell categories during one of your games, Kelly, but it sounded like you guys did have a bit of a reaction that they cut out. Oh,
I definitely kind of did a giggle snort. I thought that was a really clever little play on words there, and they actually just I forget if it was yesterday's episode or the one before that. They had the Name of the Wind and the Wise Man's Spear, which I will bet there were people that laughed at that too, but you can't hear it on the air.
Which, it would be nice if they could maybe get the reactions a little bit of the, contestants or audience a little bit more on those categories of people who are like, yes, I get that. And
yes, we're nerds.
Yes. So how did you react? How did you react when you saw that in the audience or in the bullpen, as it were, Jill?
I kind of laughed to myself, but they really warn you about staying quiet and not being disruptive. So I tried not to make too much noise of any kind.
Fair enough. So moving on a little bit from that. Now you guys are both from the state of Illinois. Obviously, Kelly, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're in a suburb of St. Louis, though. So, I guess it. A little bit, probably slightly different experiences than, say, someone from the Chicago area. But then again, I mean, obviously Jeopardy airs at a mid-afternoon in the Central Time Zone and most spots in the Central Time Zone. How different is it living in a spot where Jeopardy airs at 3:30, 4:30 in the afternoon as compared to 7 or 7:30 like in most of the country?
Well, basically, I can't watch it most days unless I pre-record it because I'm at work. And during the last couple of weeks before I went to California, my mom actually recorded a lot of episodes of it for me to watch before I went, because I really wanted to. I wanted to watch some shows and kind of get into the groove of how they word clues and practicing timing with a pen and all of that. And I don't actually get to watch the show in its actual time slot very often.
Makes sense. Now, what about you, Jill?
Well, I always assumed that that's when it aired everywhere. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's pretty weird for it to be like a primetime show. Although I guess if it's 7 o'clock Eastern, then it's a little bit before prime time. That's my Central Time Zone showing itself. But yeah, I guess it was always, after school it would be on. And then I've just always taped it and then watched it when I got home. It's a little different to watch it live, having to sit through the commercials, because I'm used to just it taking maybe 10 minutes to watch the actual show with me fast forwarding through everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is something that if you're not used to commercials and then having to sit through it, certainly certainly a different experience. Now, how different is it trying to set up viewing parties for the Central Time Zone? Now, did you guys have viewing parties for your episode?
I did. I actually called off work for it. My whole department was really supportive of the whole thing, and several of them actually even came to the watch party. But yeah, I had to get out of work for it, and so did some of the people who came to it.
And you, Jill?
I didn't, just because, yeah, that people would have to take time off work. My husband came home early and we watched it, and I kind of live tweeted it. I only ended up tweeting like maybe 5 times, but I was also, because I knew the outcome and it wasn't the outcome I expected, I thought it might be a little bit awkward maybe or something if watching it with a bunch of people and then everyone's like, oh, at the end.
Yeah, that's that actually brings up an interesting point, and I know it's something that we've brought up a little bit on live panel in the past. You know, the outcome not being what you expect, because a lot, you know, everyone goes on. You know, I would say, yeah, everyone goes on the show with the hopes and dreams of actually winning, and so. Have you had much of a chance to kind of, think about, I guess, dwell on that almost a little bit? And sort of what strategies would you suggest for people, say, in the future if they don't have the outcome that they were expecting on Jeopardy?
Well, I've kind of dwelled on it, but tried not to. Just trying to keep in mind that I did think I played well. I was pretty proud. Like, going into it, I really wanted to win, but then I thought, well, if I can just play at my best rather than, some days you have off days, and I didn't want that to happen or to let my nerves get the best of me. So I was happy that I thought I played well, even though I didn't win, and to just remember that, it happened. There's nothing I can do to change it. So to just move on and just be happy about the whole experience.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm looking at, I've taken my own stats chart out for your game, and I mean, the only question you didn't answer or didn't get correct was Final Jeopardy. You didn't ring in with an incorrect response to the entire. Well, Final Jeopardy, I mean, it wasn't, the easiest of finals.
Well, I felt, because I was pretty excited about the category. I felt good. I had memorized the winners of all the major categories for the Academy Awards. And I thought to myself, I'm good about this question, I think, as long as it's not like a nominee question. I'm not as good as those.
Mm-hmm.
Question.
Yep.
And then I didn't get it immediately. And then I think I kind of panicked and I just couldn't think straight. And I was just trying to work my way through it, and my brain just wasn't working, and oh well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that if I'm not mistaken, or at least I'm pretty sure Alex said that it was one of those things where if you either got it right away or you were going to get bogged down in something. And
yeah.
Now, were either of you kind of surprised by Gavin's, almost cavalier wagering strategy in Final Jeopardy?
Yeah, I didn't understand why. It seemed more like he just wanted to wager an even amount and just kind of go more by gut than a particular strategy. I just figured that he would bet to cover my.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it seemed in your game that there was absolutely nothing wrong with what you bet. The issue was definitely with what Gavin bet. He definitely bet a little bit too much, kind of shot from the hip a little bit, and I guess he was fortunate that it still worked out for him.
Yeah.
There seems to have been a bit of that lately, where contestants are, not quite picking up on the wagering strategy a bit. So it sounds like you had an idea going in on wagering strategy, Jill. Is that correct?
Well, I had tried to prep for that because I know it's not my natural strong suit. So I tried to kind of ready myself a little bit so it wouldn't be so in the moment trying to think of all the possibilities and what I should do. But I also went in thinking that my final Jeopardy strategy would be more, how do I feel about the category, and trying to just get the correct answer rather than worrying about, okay, how do the other contestants feel about it, or do I think they're going to get it, or betting against all the different possibilities.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. And I thought I noticed you, Kelly, mention on one of the various boards that you certainly had a bit of a brain fart on one of your Final Jeopardy wagers.
Well, the first game went okay because I knew Scott had almost twice as much as I did. I knew Rich was right on my heels, and I'm thinking if I basically just got to bet everything, and I can't be overthinking it all that much. And second game, and I had read up a little bit on wagering strategy too, but I'm standing there with the scrap paper, and I swear I turned into the guy from Memento. I'm trying to do math, and I come up with a number, and then I can't remember what that number is for. I'm going, is this what Gavin's going to end up with? Is this what I'm trying to end up with? Is this what Sarah Jane's going to end up with? Whose money? Well, whose number is this? What? And I just, it was like I'd just been hit by the dumpstick, and I knew what I was trying to do. I was trying to have enough to win in a situation where if Gavin got it wrong and Sarah Jane got it right, but I forgot to kind of add a little bit more money in there, so we ended up tied, and that's when I looked silly on national television. It was just completely, the brain shorted out, stress or nerves or something, I don't know.
Nerves, definitely nerves and stress, both of those. You would definitely not be the first person to have experienced that on the Jeopardy stage.
When you're the one doing it, you feel like you're the only one who ever has.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. So, moving along a bit, with regards to your respective contestant interviews, did Alex talk about what you thought he would talk about?
Yeah, he did for me. Like they had gone over the stories, like we gave him like 3 to choose from, and the contestant coordinators had gone over them all with us. And then they highlight the one that we like the best, and they warned us that Alex usually sticks to the highlighted one, but he can do whatever he wants. But I think that was the most anecdote, so I figured that's what we'd be talking about.
You had a really cool anecdote.
Kelly.
Yeah, in my, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my first game, there was more to the science fiction convention story than that, but I think he was more interested in whether there was cosplay, which there is. But I liked the way in the second game, the way Alex decided to do Gavin's spelling bee story and also my spelling bee story, because they kind of, they kind of tied together in a way.
Yep.
So that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know there are adult spelling bees. I need to find these and play them.
From my knowledge of the subculture, I feel as though places like, I know there's one in Austin, Texas. I don't know if St. Louis has any, but I know I've heard of them happening in, places like Portland and Austin, Texas and stuff, and Seattle and stuff like that. I'm guessing Toronto probably has one too. I'm not sure about St. Louis or a place like that, but I mean, my guess is that, you know, if you start Googling adult spelling bee in St. Louis, you might find something. But
I'll have to do that.
mm-hmm. Once again, if you've got any questions or comments, we've got the YouTube chat. We've also got hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel on Twitter. You're welcome to tweet in at us. How did you guys find the signaling device?
Yeah. I had a lot of trouble with it, and I had practiced, you know, trying to do it while watching at home before getting out there. And I think what was rough for me is that when we did like the practice right before the show, I found I'm in, but then I would, once I got in, I would kind of keep a streak going a little bit. And so I thought, okay, I'll be all right. And then that just didn't happen in my show really. And so there's a lot of answers where I'm like furiously clicking, trying to get in and not.
Mm-hmm. Now I know in your case, Kelly, I'm looking at looking back at my numbers. You certainly struggled quite a bit in your first game on the signaling device, and then things got a little bit better for you in your second game.
Yeah, it might take a while to get into a groove with the buzzer, and there were definitely a lot of things that I knew that I didn't get the chance to ring in on, which is always frustrating when that happens. And by the second, get a better groove with the buzzer, but that also got me in trouble a few times because I know at least once I rung in and I hadn't actually, I didn't have an answer. But like I said, I was more rattled in the second game all around. But yeah, it took me a while to get into a groove with it, but it's definitely, it can definitely be frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially because, I mean, certainly in your first game, both Rich and Scott had were both really good. I think they had dominated long stretches of play. So.
Sorry, I got weird buzzing noises during most of that sentence. I heard that you were talking about Rich and Scott, but I didn't catch.
Sorry, just to repeat, yeah, it seemed like, yeah, Rich and Scott were dominating long stretches of play in that game, especially with the signaling device, and yeah, I can certainly see why that would have been frustrating. Now, how much of it was it a turning point when you got, or at least did it feel like a turning point for you, Kelly? Because there was the $2,000 clue in Cowboy Talk where both Rich and Scott took the $2,000 neg, and then you picked up the second rebound for it.
I don't think I was really thinking through the scores at that point. And it was. I don't think I would have rung in on that if I'm not sure I would have rung in on that if they hadn't rung in on it, because I wasn't completely sure, but they had kind of eliminated a few of the other possibilities. And I thought I remembered from, I don't know, Girl Scout camp 25 years ago that was a bedroll. Mm-hmm. But I thought I'd give it a shot. And there, you know, being so late in the game, it was a good time to get a little bit of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, moving on a little bit later in that game, I think that aside from Twitter blowing up over Jill's glasses on Thursday, the other thing that upset a few people on the internet this past week was with regards to the Scott's response of double envelopment, which was then later credited back to him. Now, I just want to preface this by saying that absolutely the show's rules were followed, and I just I'm bringing this up to see what people feel about the rule in general. Now, how was that from your perspective, Kelly?
Well, in the moment, you know, as quickly as the game goes, I wasn't really thinking about the math of it. But he answered, and they said it was wrong. I rung in and took a shot at it, and they said that was correct. And what I didn't realize until it aired the other last week, and I saw some of the internet discussion about it, was that apparently the amount of money that I got on that clue would have made the difference between whether Scott had a runaway or not. And that if he'd been called correct in the first place and I hadn't had the chance to buzz, I couldn't have won. And I think, you know, that sucks. It sucks that it turned out. I mean, he's a brilliant player, obviously, and I don't, you know, there's not really anything I can do about it, but but you know, obviously, I don't want to have taken anything away from somebody, and I feel bad that happened.
Well, as I tried, you know, to mention, and I personally, I mean, from my perspective, again, the show's rules were followed, and that's what they have done for the last 30 years. When a player gives a wrong answer and somebody rebounds with the expected correct answer, that second player keeps the money, and that's how the game works. And the rules were followed, and I mean, absolutely, that, you know, per the rules of the game, you won. And I mean, people can debate, you know, people can have opinions on that rule, and, you know, maybe they can think that it might be worthwhile of a change going forward, but that doesn't take anything away from the fact that you still won the game as per the rules of the game. And
Sorry, you were saying.
Sorry. No, I just thought, you know, as I was saying, as per the, you know, you, in my opinion, you won that game fair and square as per the rules of the game. And so, sometimes, you know, there are times where, you know, even in sports where there are, you know, sometimes rules that often, you know, fans don't agree with, but they're there. And that's something that happens. And as per the rules, you were the rightful winner of Tuesday's episode. And regardless of what a bunch of people say on the internet about it and about the rule, no one can take that title away from you. Any other thoughts about that from our panel, or should I kind of change the topic a bit?
I don't know. I'm not sure what to say about it other than I don't know.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. I kind of feel a bit bad for bringing it up now. But,
No. It was definitely a hot topic on the internet. So.
Now, do you have any thoughts on that, Jill? Because you're kind of staying quiet in this.
Oh, I just think, I mean, everyone up there was a good player and played well, and then you can say, I guess he would have had a runaway, and then there would have been no other chance for another winner. But, you know, Kelly still had to get the question right for Final Jeopardy, and I mean, second guessing in hindsight just doesn't seem to produce a lot of, or it's not very productive, I don't think.
And certainly, if I remember correctly, oh yes, I definitely found that I did not get that Final Jeopardy within 30 seconds. It took me a lot longer than 30 seconds, mostly because I started in Africa and not Europe. But I would say that that is or that get on Tuesday's Final Jeopardy was very impressive.
Thank you. I don't really know. I don't know exactly where it came from. It popped into my head, and it popped into my head pretty quickly, but I'm not sure exactly how. But I was very glad it did, and I'm glad I didn't get the Final Jeopardy from, because I didn't know that one either.
Well, you know.
But yeah, I felt pretty confident in it, but I still wasn't sure how the game would turn out, so pretty suspicious.
That's certainly a good way of putting it, for sure. Yeah. So, moving on to Thursday's game. Moving back to Thursday's game, obviously that was where Terry decided he wanted to go for the lead on just before Final Jeopardy. Certainly that was, I would say, the right call. How was it standing beside him as he does that?
I mean, yeah, I think he made the right call. I would have probably tried. I mean, I don't think I would have done it just because I'm not good at 12-letter words. That's just a really poor category for me. But absolutely, I understand why he did it. And it was pretty heartbreaking that especially because he knew, it was right on the root word and he was pretty close. And then I thought it was kind of strange, the internet's reaction of like, oh, that was so easy. How do you not get that? And like one thing, when you're standing there on stage, you just bet almost everything. Question you get until Final Jeopardy.
Yep. A lot of the Monday morning quarterbacks have never been, well, yeah, have certainly never been on stage and have no idea what that's like. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing for sure. It's like, it's one thing again, when you're sitting at home on your couch, and also, at home on your couch, if you'd like to, okay, if you want an extra couple seconds, do what my dad does and just hit the pause button and give yourself an extra couple seconds to come up with the answer. You don't have that luxury when you're on set.
Right.
Remember the ones that come from your couch either and count them correctly. You can just conveniently forget them.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that you just have to say the answer. You don't have to worry about buzzing in at the right time and formulating it in the question. And, there's a lot of other things that you have to think about while you're up there answering the questions. And I think people maybe don't realize that or don't think about that.
I can certainly agree with that for sure. That's there's not a lot of that people just don't realize what all goes into it, and for sure. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you pretty much have to read faster to get the end. Also have to be listening to his voice to buzz in on time. Listening to him and not listening to him at the same time, it can be challenging.
I also found that you have to basically say the answer in your head before you say it out loud. During one of the auditions, I had rung in and was called and then realized that my mind just went blank. And so then I would really start practicing okay, say everything in your head, make sure you got it, worry about buzzing in.
That's actually really good advice. I like that. I like that piece of advice. That sounds like something that at least would be helpful for sure.
Absolutely.
So I know Jill, you got the opportunity to have lunch on Sony's dime because your game didn't air till Thursday, so you got the chance to have lunch at the commissary. Now, I believe you mentioned to me in the pre-show before we went live that you also got the commissary, Kelly, for lunch that day, but not quite on Sony's dime. You spent your own dime on that. So
I'm sorry about that.
It's a weird little technicality. If you are no longer a contestant, you buy your lunch. But I wanted to stay and watch the afternoon games, and it was convenient, so I went ahead and went there. I had a really nice stir fry. And I wasn't allowed to talk to any current contestants. And poor Gavin, he comes through the line a few minutes after me, and says, "Oh, is this for real on the show? I can't talk to you." And I had to drive him off. I felt very mean, but they told us the rules were very strict. Mm-hmm. And all the contestants had a kind of it's set up kind of in different rooms that are kind of connected, and they were all in a different little room.
And so what did you get?
Sorry?
I was about to ask Jill what she had.
I had the first, because I got to eat there twice. The first day a turkey sandwich and the second day a hamburger.
Oh, you got carried over, Jill?
Yeah, I sat through all day on the first day, not getting called, and then almost the whole day, the second day, not getting called.
Huh, interesting. That's
I did not know that.
That's unusual. You normally get called in, first or second. I don't recall people waiting till like Thursday. So.
Yeah, Scott and I kind of became a little more buddies because he also didn't get called the first day, and then he had to wait a few games on the second day as well.
Okay, nice.
Or I guess just the one, but.
So, do you remember what you talked with Alex post game?
Sorry.
Do you remember what you talked about post game with Alex? When the three of you are on the stage and the credits are rolling.
First time I don't remember at all. I could not tell you what he said. And the second game he asked me about my wagering mistake.
We talked about Terry's daily double mostly.
Okay. So, were there any long stoppages during taping during the week you guys were there?
I think there was only one that was semi-long, but other than that, like maybe 3 or 4 overall for both days. But most of them were pretty quick.
There was a little stoppage.
That I remember anyway.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, there's a little stoppage during one of my games, and I can't remember anymore what it was for. But we had to turn around and face the wall.
Okay.
I think that was the one that Rich answered, like coach instead of gym teacher.
Oh.
I think. I remember, like, yeah, you guys having to turn around and they go look it up if that was acceptable or not.
Makes sense. Yeah. So when you guys went out to Culver City to tape, did you do anything other than Jeopardy, or what other things did you do in the LA area?
We did. We stayed. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, we stayed until Friday. So we basically stayed the whole week. Kind of explored around. We went to the Santa Monica Pier and drove on the Pacific Coast Highway a little bit. We went to see a taping of At Midnight the same day as the show that we taped. We went and did the Warner Brothers studio lot tour, the Walk of Fame, and like the handprints and everything. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. And you, Kelly?
Oh, well, I didn't do nearly as much fun stuff. I was really only there for the night before and then the day of. I came in in the evening. The day before I had a surreal experience because at the staying at I went to get dinner at this place across the street, and I walked in. They had the open sign on and the door unlocked, and I walked in, and there was no one there. There were no customers. There was no one working there. It was like everyone had just vanished. And I swear the first thing that went through my head is this a dream sequence? Am I dreaming this entire thing? Because this is so weird now. And then I went and had a lovely uneventful dinner down the street. And yeah, then just tried to get some sleep and went out to the studio early in the morning, drank a lot of coffee, and
Nice.
Afternoon taping, and I went out. Sorry.
No, I was just commenting that that was nice. I enjoyed that story. So I'm actually through all of my questions for both of you on my notes. So was there anything you thought I'd bring up tonight but didn't, or do you have any questions for each other or even me?
Well, I'd like to get on the record that Alex Trebek made a taint joke during the taping, and then it didn't get aired.
Yes.
Can you mention a little bit more about this, even though it might sound a little bit off color?
Well, Kelly, I think you should tell it because you were on stage at the time.
Okay, this was during my first game, and Rich, the returning champion, was telling a story about going for a long camel ride with his wife. And Alex said, he first said something about long camel rides, and he said, "Tain't easy." And this is completely edited out. But he totally said it. I will vouch for that.
I was really hoping they'd leave it in.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that that they didn't, because wow, the internet would have blown up on that for sure. And I think, well, yeah, I guess maybe they're trying not to be like Family Feud, but oh dear, that would have been hilarious. That absolutely hilarious that they left that in. Anything else you guys want to ask either me or each other, or anything that you thought I'd bring up but didn't?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just in case Kelly's audio is lagging a bit, I'll give her a couple more seconds. Well, there is one comment on the YouTube chat from Todd Gisa. Gisi, I can never remember how to pronounce your name, and I'm so sorry because you've been on the TOC bubble for so long, and I hope you make it. But he's also said, Andy, I love your defense of Jeopardy contestants here and Jeopardy in general on Twitter and your great website, and thank you, Todd, for that. Other than that, yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me on Hashtag Jeopardy Live panel this evening, and also for everyone who tuned in. GC, okay. He just put it in the YouTube chat. It's GC, okay. I'll hope to remember that. Okay. Thank you. And so thank you for to both of you for joining me on hashtag Jeopardy Live panel, and to those of you all of you who tuned in. Our next episode, this is actually going to be the penultimate Jeopardy Live panel of this season. I'm going to do one more before the end of the season before the end of the season, July 31st. So not this coming Monday, but the Monday following will be the last one of the season. And then I'll let you know what I'll be doing with the panel over the summer hiatus. So again, thank you very much. I'll get the credits up. Anything you guys want to say before I end the broadcast?
Oh, just thanks for inviting me. It was fun.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and have a great night.